7 for 12 on third down, the money down. Okay. All 7 third down conversions, all of them, Aaron Rodgers to Davante Adams to move the sticks all 7 times. How about
cooking.
that?
I mean, that's a relationship, though. If my quarterback knew me, that's what you get. And in this situation, he knows him. And that's what you're gonna get. I'm going to you because I'm comfortable with what you do, what you bring to the table on third downs. I don't have to worry about who's going to be in the right spot. I don't have to worry. I know where you're going to be because we've done this 17,000 million times together.
Yep, and they might have an easy one again this Sunday, 17 million times together, hosting Minnesota.
Every time I watch the Packers win, Key, I'm like, okay, like I know Davante Adams. Yeah, I know Aaron Rodgers. Who's he going to make great this weekend? But I always question, are they that good?
Man,
are they that good?
Remember they were in the NFC Championship game last year.
I know.
I'm just saying. And it was just in the championship game.
I just feel confused, though. Is it more their opponents? Because that game against the Bucs still stands out to me. And maybe it was off, but that was pretty.
Buccaneers have a pretty good defense, though. They really do have a good defense, and they're a good team.
Well, that's my thing. So the wins, Vikings, Lions, Saints, okay. Falcons and Texans, like those are their wins. So it's just I know
who they put in front of you.
I know, brother. That's what I hear you on that. It just makes me still wonder. Like, I wonder if they have that next gear.
We're not going to find out next week. As I mentioned, it's 1-win Minnesota coming off the bye for the Vikings at Lambeau Field. Yeah, that could get as ugly as humanly possible. I'll give you my quick key observation, and that is simply that the Falcons are now inventing different ways to lose football games. You might remember week number 2, the onside kick for the ages against the Cowboys, in which they essentially didn't realize they could pick up the football because they were the team that was kicking away. They were ridiculed for that for an entire week. The following week, the Bears benched Mitch Trubisky in Atlanta. In comes Nick Foles, totally cold, leads them back from 16 down to win. And that was in week 3. And then yesterday, the Falcons scoring a touchdown, leaving time on the clock for Matt Stafford. Usually when something crazy happens at the end of a game, it's going against the Lions. But this time around,
a minute
4, Stafford leads them 75 yards down the field, and they essentially win the game on the final play. That's all in 7 weeks for the Atlanta Falcons. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Dan Orlovsky, our QB, joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line in 5 minutes. He'll talk about what the Cowboys should do at QB, and from a teammate camaraderie perspective, something he's been saying all morning, can you believe that the Cowboys didn't defend Andy Dalton? We're also asking you on the Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin Nation, who is most likely to be on a new team next year quarterback-wise? Now, you could throw out any quarterback you want. Here are just a couple of examples. Sam Darnold with the Jets. Cam Newton's just got a 1-year deal. They could get out of Jimmy G's deal in San Francisco. Those are just a couple of examples. Matt Ryan's also on that list, but you make your answer and you defend it. Let us know. 58% of you that have weighed in so far on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed, you can call us too, 888-SAY-ESPN, said Cam Newton. At Tom Evans 1972 hit us up and basically said, quote, I voted for Darnold because to vote for Cam would require people believing he's on any team next year. That's a little harsh.
Wow, we're throwing him out of the league?
He's certainly a Patriot fan. There's no question about that. He's mad at Cam because of the way Cam has been playing.
You guys want to weigh in yourself and kind of participate in our own Twitter feed here? What do you think?
If I'm a betting man right now, I'm going to say that Jimmy G's the guy playing for another team.
Make it juicy and tell me who he ends up with.
I don't know who he's going to end up with, but I smell Matt Ryan in San Francisco next year.
How about Jimmy G in New England again?
Wow.
I don't know, because then that would mean that I have to admit that I'm wrong.
Tough for you to do.
No, not me. I'm talking about the Patriots and the coaches, not me.
Gotcha.
What do you mean tough for me?
But it's just a 1-year deal with Cam anyway, right? I mean, if they really believed in him, it wouldn't have been such a deal that it was incentive laden.
No, but they had to do it that way because they didn't have the necessary money, nor did they have to pay him because there wasn't a lot of suitors out there for Cam. Cam has a chance to turn it around. The season's not over. I just think that when you look at Jimmy G in San Francisco, they can only go so far with him at quarterback. And I think they really believe that. They really, they had that experience in the Super Bowl. They saw what happened in the Green Bay and Minnesota playoff games where they were like, you don't throw the ball. We're going to hand it to that dude and play defense. Now you get a Matt Ryan that can maybe give you a cap-friendly deal. You give Atlanta something, maybe a second round pick or something like that. You get this guy
It's
there.
a lot of money, though,
Now
with Matt
you
Ryan,
move him.
though, right?
Well, I mean, it depends on what that conversation is with John Lynch in his representatives, and you go to them and you say, let's restructure your deal to a point where it allows us to get a certain value in a certain cap number, and they trade for him in the offseason, and he becomes San Francisco's quarterback. They get their defense back healthy. I mean, if I'm him, I'm trying to go to Shanahan. I'm trying to get out of Atlanta because it's a rebuild anyway. Thank you. It's been great. It's time to move.
Yeah, John Lynch, the 49ers general manager, you bring up the hypothetical second-round pick. Remember, it was a second-round pick that essentially got Jimmy G from New England out to San Francisco. And we should also mention that Kyle Shanahan was with Matt Ryan in Atlanta, the offensive coordinator of that Super Bowl team the Falcons had in 2016. So there could be some familiarity there.
And he had his best years with Shanahan.
No doubt.
you just it's an easy conversation to have because Matt Ryan still has several more years in this league to play at a high level, and it would be a shame to see those years wasted on a rebuild in Atlanta. It was still that way a week or two ago, but now just watching how they took care of business, now they get AB and add him to the mix. And I know a lot of people are questioning what that is in terms of who he is and what's he going to bring to the table. I'm concerned with on the field. I'm not necessarily concerned with off the field because if he hasn't learned his behavior off the field is the reason that he's not or wasn't currently on the team for over a year and a half. If he hasn't learned that, then he doesn't deserve it. But I think Tom Brady, some of those veteran players that are on that team will wrap their arms around him, and he'll help them try and get to a Super Bowl.
Seahawks and Cardinals.
Jeez, I got to say it, Jay. The Cardinals are legit. They're a legit football team. They really are. I needed to see them beat somebody, though. I really needed them to. They went out there and took care of business. They didn't lead at all until the end of the game, which was the W. And Kyler Murray played extremely well. There's no question about it. When you look at it, they did what they were supposed to do against the top team in the division. Now I believe that they are a legitimate threat in that division. They still got to finish the deal, but beating Seattle went a long ways for me. A long ways.
They were cute, but they're starting to look pretty now.
Steelers and Titans.
Tennessee. Oh, gosh. Tennessee is a type of team that is great. I like the way that they play their style, running the ball, playing defense. But the one thing, much like the Baltimore Ravens, they cannot afford to fall behind. I know A.J. Brown is a great wide receiver, and I know that they do some things in the passing game, but they're not built to throw the football like that. They're not built to come from behind. So they've got to make sure that they got to stay in front at all times when they play these teams, because if they get too far behind, I don't care what Ryan Tannehill, MVP conversations and all that went right out the window real fast. They're still a legit team, but they just can't fall too far behind.
Packers at Texans.
Well, come on, man. Everybody was questioning Aaron Rodgers against the Bucs. What happened to Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, I know he went out and he beat a Texas team that's fired their coach earlier this year, and they've been struggling. But dude is just ridiculous. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, he just goes about his business, obviously hooking up with Devontae Adams, who came back off an injury last week, didn't do well against the Bucs, but for whatever reason, they got a whole week of practice. He's healthy again. Guy just was out there just ripping it apart. I got one guy to throw to, Devontae Adams. That's the only person I'm throwing to. The rest of y'all sit on the sideline and watch this.
Browns and Bengals.
Impressed by two young quarterbacks. Impressed by the quarterbacks. When you think about what Baker Mayfield was able to do after bouncing back, going 0-5, throwing the pick, but you also look at Joe Burrow. You look at Joe Burrow just continuing to just play at the level worthy of the number one overall pick for him. But you also could talk about another young quarterback in Justin Herbert, getting his first W in, I almost called him San Diego, the Chargers out in L.A., just dealing and continuing to play well. This is something to be said for these young quarterbacks that are not playing well. Just look at the young ones. Look at the young ones that are doing well, and when you have an opportunity to watch them and see how they're playing, you could take this thing and go a long ways with it. Justin Herbert was always my favorite quarterback coming out in the draft last year. A lot of people had him one at the beginning of the year. By the time they got to the end of the season, they pushed him way down the charts. The Chargers obviously got it right.
Believe it or not, Herbert actually led the Chargers yesterday in passing and rushing. Not something you would think for a guy of his frame, but 66 on the ground.